Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode. In this episode, we are going to discuss what is hair loss. It is a common condition that can not only occur on the scalp but also on other parts of the human body. Though alopecia is commonly seen in adults, there are chances of children being affected by it as well. As per the American Academy of Dermatology, losing 50 to 100 hair in a day is normal, as new hair replaces that loss. However, if that fails to happen, then it can be defined as hair loss or alopecia, which can be either temporary or permanent. Now let's move on to causes of hair loss. There can be many reasons behind hair loss, and it is necessary to determine the actual cause, as it can help your doctor prescribe the right treatment. So some of the common causes include genetically or heredity, hormonal changes, illness or medical conditions, excessive stress or trauma, physical changes like extreme weight loss, certain hairstyles that pull the roots tightly, lack of nutrients like protein and iron in the diet, side effects of certain medicines. Now, what are the symptoms of hair loss? Though hair loss is a common condition, it can affect individuals differently depending on the cause. However, the general symptoms of hair loss include gradually thinning hair, scaling of the skin of your scalp, bald spots in patches, sudden loosening of tresses, broken hair. Okay, now prevention of hair loss. Although it is believed that hair loss is mostly caused by genetic disorders, prevention of this condition is possible to some extent. Here are a few steps that can help prevent hair loss. Avoid tight hairstyles. Avoid medications or supplements that may have hair loss as a side effect. Reduce or quit smoking. Be gentle with your hair while washing, cleaning, or brushing. Avoid extreme heat on hair. Avoid using chemical-laden styling products, coloring products, bleaching agents, etc. Now let's move on to the main topic of this podcast, debunking hair loss myths. So one of the most common dermatological conditions, hair loss can happen to anyone. However, there are a lot of opinions, common sayings, and misconceptions about hair loss. It is important to separate the truth from such myths. Debunking some of the most common hair loss myths can also help us understand when, why, and who can get affected by this condition. So here we go. Number one myth: all hair loss is permanent. That's false. The typical cause of male hair loss, male pattern baldness, is a genetic condition that's irreversible. But hair loss can also be caused by other factors, such as trauma, hormonal changes, eating disorders, or illness. Women can suffer from postpartum hair loss that rectifies itself around like 6 months after giving birth. Hair loss that is caused by something other than pattern baldness is most often only temporary. Now, another myth is stress is causing your hair loss. So this is partially true, only partially true. While everyday stress is not typically enough to cause hair loss all by itself, it is true that big traumatic events have been linked to hair loss. Think long-term suffering and illness. According to the Mayo Clinic, such severe stress can cause your hair to go into a longer resting phase in which hair follicles pause to regenerate hair. It can also cause alopecia areata, a form of patchy hair loss. Again, these types of hair loss are typically linked to severely traumatic events, not everyday events, stress like a demanding job, a nagging boss, or children who drive you crazy. And even so, the resulting hair loss, if any, is always almost temporary. So, the last thing you should stress about is your level of stress. A myth, genetic hair loss is passed down through your mother's side of the family. False. We all like to blame our mothers for many things. Male pattern baldness, however, can be passed on by either of your parents. Yes, genetics can be blamed, but don't pin this one any more on your mother than you do on your father. And it's not grandpa's fault either. This is an important myth for mainly for men. Bald men have more testosterone. That's false. It would be a comfort if baldness was good for something like, say, an elevated sex drive. Perhaps that's why this particular one of all the hair loss myths is so persistent. However, studies have been shown that balding men have the same testosterone levels as their hairy breed. This doesn't mean that hormones don't play a role. However, they do, and studies have shown a hormone called DHT is to blame. Somehow, having too much of it caused by genetics causes your follicles to eventually stop producing. Based on your genetic makeup, your hair follicles may be more or less sensitive to hormone levels. Another myth, washing and shampooing your hair too much can cause hair loss. Now that's false. How often you wash and shampoo your hair has no effect on overall loss or growth of hair. You may simply notice the hair that is falling out more acutely while you are in the shower washing out, but this is hair that would have fallen out anyway. At any given time, a portion of our hair regenerates itself by falling out, going dormant for a while, and growing again. This is a normal cycle. When baldness sets in, hair that falls out can no longer be replaced because the hair follicles die off. Another myth, hair dye causes your hair to thin and fall out eventually. So the anything in moderation will not affect hair growth. Only if harsh chemical based dyes are used regularly and in extreme quantity, it would affect the hair nourishment. Dermatologist consultation is recommended before using any cosmetic product. Any Okay, so this is a myth which is quite important for anyone out there. There are many medications out there that work wonders for stopping hair loss or creating new hair growth. The fact is, by learning about the true causes of hair loss and FDA approved treatments, your clients or the customers of the products can learn to understand and manage their hair loss. People looking for hair loss support products may consider FDA approved medical therapies to preserve and potentially restore their hair. For example, finasteride or Propecia, a brand known in USA, is approved for use in men, and it's a quite common. Minoxidil as been sold as Rogaine is available for both men and women. but it all depends on how well and whether they work at all for each individual. These over the counter medications can't affect the hair follicles at all. When a proper hair treatment like PRP is applied to the hair, additional medications may be prescribed to enrich the hair regrowth process. However, it is not recommended to take the drug without consulting your dermatologist. Another myth: wearing hats too often causes hair loss. There is no reputable research that suggests hats can cause hair loss or balding. Technically, if you wear an incredibly tight hat daily, there is a chance you could develop traction alopecia, a gradual hair loss resulting in the repetitive tension of the hair follicles. Luckily, the chances are slim that you could even find a hat that tight. Now, okay, so this is a myth. Frequent trims make your hair grow thicker and faster. Okay, so haircuts do not affect how thick and or fast your hair grows. Hair strands grow from the follicles in the scalp. The rest of the strand is composed of dead skin cells. Whether you chop your hair short or let it grow out, the rate at which the cells renew themselves has nothing to do with your hairstyle. By getting a trim every 6 to 8 weeks, you proactively prevent split ends from splitting the strand further up the shaft. Now, okay, so another myth. Brushing your hair when it's wet means more will fall out. False. In line with the previous myth, told as we mentioned, your hair doesn't fall out more if you brush it and when it's wet. Hair is more elastic when it's wet, and it also has a, like we can say, a greater tendency to split, which means that you feel as though more is falling out, whereas in fact it's just broken. If your hair is in the process of falling out, brushing gathers up hair that is about to shed anyway. It doesn't actually cause hair loss. Okay, it's time to know some interesting facts about hair loss. Hair loss affects both men and women. 50 to 100 strands of hair loss in a day are deemed normal. Certain medicines like blood thinners, depression, chemotherapy drugs, and blood pressure pills may also trigger the problem of hair loss. A study conducted at Harvard University Health states that the most common type of the hair loss is pattern baldness in males and females. Some of the top causes of hair loss are hormonal imbalance and stress. Scalp infections and inflammation tend to aggravate hair loss. Hair loss transplants is the treatment that includes a lot of advanced options like PRP as well, aided with medications. Not all kinds of hair loss are preventable or treatable. A dermatologist is the right person to determine the same. Food, lifestyle, and stress levels may impact the problem further. So that's it from today's episode. I hope you like it. Subscribe, please share, and leave a comment down below. It really helps us. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye. Take care.